Another day in the NBA here, and much like the NFL's Week 18, which is coming up, this is like an absolutely chaotic NBA slate in front of us. We're still going to do the work like we always do here on the Splash Play channel. We're going to dig in and compare my projections to one of the industry leaders out there, our friends over at Stokastic. We'll see the top projected play are, who the best value plays are. We'll also go game by game, see where the ownership is at, where the leverage plays are. We'll go over to Stokastic, run a sim without my interference. We'll see who their best lineups are. I'll do a hand build, and by the end of this video, guys, you will know all the industry's must plays along with my splash plays for today's January 2nd NBA slate. Let's get into it here. Shout out to the chat. We got Fischel here. If you maxed out yesterday, didn't cash, you owe $15 in taxes. I think you actually owe it directly to the president. I think how that goes. Oh, God, I'm going to get down votes right away. Relax, guys. It's a tax joke. Fun day. We got Bay and Dairy Queen out for the Pels. We got a lot more than that. You got also the Michael Porter Jr., Cam Thomas, Nick Claxton, big three for Brooklyn out today. That's going to be the most important part. But we'll talk about it all here, guys. But we'll start the top projected plays, as we always do here. You got Luka Doncic, who is not on our main slate, but for you FanDuel sycophants out there, he is in my projection set right now. Top projected play, he doesn't matter for the main slate, so we'll skim through it, but no Austin Reeves. Lakers, whatever. Luka Doncic going to keep chucking, no matter how bad they are in real life. They need to trade LeBron desperately, but they haven't done it yet. Luka at this point, though, top projected guy overall on a day really where nobody projects that well. You have a ton of great values, and where you spend that money, it's not going to be anything obvious. No Jokic is on this slate. Even Giannis is not really himself lately, not playing above 30 minutes, not even above 29 minutes since his return to the lineup. It's a little bit tough to get to anybody, and Luka's not available on the actual main slate. FanDuel, he is, though. Denny Avdia, 46% ownership. Fields at 58, or Fields at 46. I'm at 58. I do have Denny Avdia, 52.2 projection. Stokastic at 51.3. For Denny Avdia, he unfortunately lost the multi-position eligibility, but still at point guard. Getting him in at $9,600 looks pretty good. No Jeremy Grant, no Drew Holiday, really no Scoot Henderson. Still, he's been out all year. It doesn't matter that much. But for Denny Avdia, been a big producer, and this is going to be one of those days where we go to NBA Wowie a lot because a lot of unprecedented rotational spots. This one, at least, you know, we have some history of it being there. Oh, wait, not. I'm going to skip by a year. Here we go. Go Portland, and let's take off Drew. Let's take off Jeremy. Jeremy's spoken. He's out of the lineup. The best of slates tonight. Definitely some good values to go around, which I also love as a concept. Overall, your best trailblazer with our Drew Holiday, Jeremy Grant court time off. Denny Avdia has played 1,000 possessions, so these rates are pretty stable. Puts up 31% usage and 9% rebound rate, 11 assists per 100 possessions as well, 1.3 fantasy points a minute. Blake Wesley, it doesn't matter. He puts up 1.2. Donovan Clingan, 1.1. Shaden Sharp, rounded up 1.1 as well. They're all going to gain a little bit of opportunity, obviously, but Avdia at about 1.3 fantasy points a minute. We're talking about getting him into that tier of elite players. And then for Portland today as well, where's their team total at? Well, number one, they're playing New Orleans, so that's going to be a big part of it, obviously. Number two is that they're 243.5 combined total in this game, highest on the slate. Portland at 123 implied points, one of the highest marks on the slate. So basically for Denny Avdia, he's got a high total. You're missing some key guys. His rates look the best on the team, and they're playing the Pelicans, who are also shorthanded. So it's even more of a win now. But Denny Avdia, I think a good price tag here. The biggest thing you critique him for is that he'll be owned a good amount. With this being a pretty big slate, and he's going to be in half the lineups in it. Jalen Johnson, we got him at 37% for the field. I am also at 37%. No Trae Young today, but you do have Porzingis back in the lineup playing limited minutes. So that does sort of keep it at a wash overall. But I was talking about in the Discord before, basically for Atlanta, they're already still priced like they were without Trae Young. Trae Young has only been back for a few games, so he's not really affecting the price tags that much. Jalen Johnson kind of then holds that price tag with Trae Young out, Porzingis in. He looks kind of like the same guy he's been for a lot of weeks lately. He looks like a decent play here. Field's going to play him a good amount at 37%. I assume no issue to be underneath that, but I don't think it's a play you want to jam in every lineup today, like some other times we've had him. If Avdia is in a second top projection versus the Pelicans, I'm blacklisting him. All right, I mean, you know, there could be guys that just put up more points, but I do think Avdia is probably going to get you. I'd be shocked if he didn't get you 45. I think he's very likely to give you 50 or better. And this is best of slates, yeah, and this is better than 233K 18 NFL. What? Oh, week 18. Yes, this is still better than Week 18 NFL. Yes, I would agree with that. A 233K. What are we doing, Steven? You gotta make your font the old man size now. You type in 233K 18 NFL. We got Giannis here. Giannis at 11% ownership for the field. I'm getting 9. You have so much money to spend. I wouldn't begrudge you playing Giannis here. But the big thing is that he's not playing 30 plus minutes. So you are paying a lot of salary for a guy that, can get there fantasy point per minute wise, but you have, guys like your guards, Ryan Rollins and Kevin Porter Jr. You also have Bobby Portis holding on to a decent role. Miles Turner's doing nothing out there. Kuzma, though, is getting some shots up. Those guys haven't stopped shooting because Giannis is back in. But Giannis will keep claiming more usage. So if you wanted to go his way today at 11% ownership, where you can easily afford him, I don't hate it. But Giannis doesn't project that well for me, 49.4. Stokastic has been 52.7. Again, they always honor that longer-term sample size a little bit more as they should as a market-leading data provider. For me, though, I'd like to really focus in on how guys have played this year, and the fact that Giannis has played a little bit under where he's been historically, and the fact that a lot of these other Bucks have played over where they've been historically. I think that's the reason why Giannis is coming in lowly for me. But on this slate, though, really wouldn't critique anybody getting to him because of the fact that there aren't a lot of guys that can break the slate, that you could pay up all the way up for. Let's see. We got Jalen Brunson here, 20% for the field. I'm at 17. No Josh Hart still. Mitchell Robinson, Q tag. So not quite the same situation we've had the last few games, but close enough. For Brunson, though, at 9,200. Other ways I'd prefer to go for that. But, for Donovan Mitchell, Jalen Brunson here, these guys both around 20%. They seem more than appropriately owned. You can afford them very easily on the slate, so you're going to get there more. But I think if there were like a tightly priced slate, you probably wouldn't get to Donovan Mitchell. You probably wouldn't get to Brunson as much. And that's, I just don't think they're the best plays in the world here, even I'm with the field at what their ownership is. Never told you about my eyes. My fingers forget that convenient fact sometimes. Oh, there we go. And you do have to stop blacklisting. That's true. I agree that there should never be blacklisting. I don't personally support it. I do know it's, a gambling thing. And I'm sure, I would hope most people don't literally blacklist players in DFS. Betting wise, I still wouldn't, not bet on a guy, but if he burns you enough times, I could see not betting that guy as often, even if you feel like a line's advantageous. Follow your hearts. But in general, though, you are better off not even remembering player names. If you could only view them as numbers, even better. Donovan Mitchell, we just kind of talked about with Brunson. Okay play, doesn't look that great. Cavs at full strength at this point. Their total today is pretty good against the very shorthanded Denver team, 125.5 implied points for Cleveland at home. Look, Mitchell, I think, whenever he's low owned, I don't mind being there. He's not really low owned. He's kind of appropriately owned. So 17%, whatever. Like, you're going to be able to afford this guy real easily. So you get him in some lineups, really not an issue with it, even though I don't think he's like a great play projection wise. Jamal Murray getting 20% for the field. I'm getting 9. Again, his rates don't really take a big jump up for taking Jokic off the court, for taking all these other guys that are now unavailable for the Nuggets. And real fast, we can look it up on NBA Wowie because, again, it's just that kind of slate. We got Jokic off. I'm just going to take Jokic off because that's going to really be the big thing here. But you can see for Jamal Murray, 500 possessions, only putting up 1.02 fantasy points a minute. Let's take off Jonas Valanciunas. Not a lot of minutes these guys haven't played because generally one of them's been on the court. We got Jamal Murray at 1.01 fantasy points a minute and about 76 possessions. Nobody here has played that well either. Peyton Watson at 1.2 fantasy points a minute and 45 possessions. Your best guy. Daron Holmes is going to be pretty expensive today. Or pretty highly owned, rather, not expensive. He'll be really kind of expensive still for what he should be. But he will be really highly owned, potentially. 0.9 DK points per minute. Like, nobody on the Nuggets has played that well without the two traditional big men in there. And Daron Holmes is a traditional big man, but he's not as good of a fantasy producer as Jokic and Joe Val are. I think that for Denver, it's just kind of a messy situation. And I could make the case again that I did last time as well. Like, Jamal Murray should be able to shoot as much as he wants. He should have the triple-double upside that he doesn't often have. But it's not there in the projection. It's not there in any underlying way. His usage actually comes down for whatever reason, probably because he just can't get his shot off as easily without having Jokic on the court. He's been good this year with Jokic. Without Jokic, he doesn't look like the same guy. So it's not a great scene for Jamal Murray no matter what. Murray's rates are down. You're gonna run it yourself. But Murray's rates are down no matter what configuration you take guys off. If Jokic comes off, he's just been not playing as good and also shooting less. and generally assisting not at a much higher rate, if not lower. Karl Anthony Towns, 10% for the field. I'm getting 3. He got downgraded to a Q tag. If he were out, Mitchell Robinson were in. You'd probably want to play some Mitchell Robinson, or potentially you'd want to. There's going to be a lot of good values on the slate. Towns being out, though, will make Brunson more palatable, will make Anunoby maybe playable, Bridges maybe playable. But at this point, actually real fast for the Knicks, just because I think with Towns being a downgrade, it might be a thing. Towns and Hart, we'll take them both off. The sample size is going to be under the 1,000 possessions we want. But Jalen Brunson, 1.4 fantasy points a minute. Anunoby, 1.2. Tyler Kolak, not guaranteed minutes, but he's produced 1.1. Mikal Bridges, 1.1. So they're all going to pretty evenly look better. Mitchell Robinson, though, at 1.5 has been like, not quite Jokic tier, but I mean, Şengün or better tier is what he's been producing fantasy-wise. So really, if Cat's out, really important thing to note, because it's going to affect those rates for all those guys. San Antonio, you got no Wemby, no Devin Vassell. I hate to do it, guys, so I'm going to show you the projection real fast. But Stephon Castle, I have at 41.9 projection. De'Aaron Fox, I have at 41.6. Fox a little bit cheaper at 7K. Castle 7,400. They both look good to me. They're both in about half my lineups. I got 52% Castle, 58% Fox. The reason would be, we're going to go back to NBA Wowie here. Hate moving you guys from screen to screen too much, but I guess people's attention spans on YouTube is pretty low, so like you're supposed to cut. Anyway. All right, so Wemby off the court. And we're going to take just Wemby first. Stephon Castle's played 640 possessions with Wemby off the court. 1.3 fantasy points a minute. De'Aaron Fox, a very stable 1,000 plus possessions. That's where the rates, you feel like they're very predictable. You can just use them and sort of say that's going to be what the guy looks like in this situation moving forward. De'Aaron Fox, 1.3 as well, rounded up. Everybody else, 1 fantasy point per minute or less, so they become a non-factor. I know Vassell is also out. Then it doesn't matter to, you're just trying to get the most credible sample size you can. A guy like Vassell doesn't really affect the rates that much on paper. But you put Vassell on, which is the point I was going to make. People are getting ahead of me. We got De'Aaron Fox at 1.34 fantasy points per minute. Again, really high assist rate for him. But Stephon Castle's assist rate becomes like 50%, along with 33% usage. He hasn't shot that well. So he's only at 1.25 fantasy points per minute when you take Vassell and Wemby off. But like Castle has like a massive ceiling with both these guys off the court is the main thing. Again, it's only, for De'Aaron Fox, 400 possessions with both Vassell and Wemby off. For Castle, it's only 142, so that's not a big enough sample size. That's why we put Vassell back on the court to get a bigger sample size that we know is going to be more predictable. But no matter what way you chop it up, both guys look really good today. And I would say for Castle, he's potentially really, really underplayed on a slate where the chalk's going to be pretty consolidated. So De'Aaron Fox, again, half my lineups as well, almost 60%, and the field's going to be there too at 43%. But Stephon Castle at 15.5, I've gotten Castle right on this slate, these slates on stream a few times before. He's a guy that my data, I think, is pretty good at identifying potential outlier days, and I think really you saw it with the NBA Wowie as well. It's a lot of opportunity for Castle, whether you just take Wemby off the court or take Wemby and Vassell off the court. All right, let's sort by value here. Murray, 217 minutes with no Gordon. Jokic is 0.99, including last season, it's 1.1. I mean, you generally, again, you want to make the biggest sample size you can, so you could do it that way. I would just use this year's rates, but you go back to last year, take off all the same players. I mean, if you're getting 1,000 possessions, that's where the rate's going to be the most stable. It's also just a different Nuggets team this year. So I would have thought, frankly, for me, I would have thought that Murray's rates would go up appreciably because he's played well this year. I would have thought like he'd get more usage, get more shots up, get more assists with Jokic off the court, and he does not. But anyway, he doesn't look good no matter what. I think he's overpriced no matter what. We're going to get to the top values right now, guys. Before we do, please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. I'm just one person here showing you my work here for gambling across the NBA. I'll also be on Stokastic's live before lock later today at 6 p.m. But here you get my takes totally unfiltered with nobody else taking the air away. So please join me on that journey here Monday to Fridays at 2 p.m. by hitting that like button and subscribing down below. Of course, check out Stokastic too. It does support the show, and you go sign up over there. Use the promo code SPLASH. You get 15% off, and then half the money you pay to them comes back to me. So it's a big win-win for us both. But all their cheap stuff, all the expensive stuff, weekly, monthly, all sport packages, you get it all for yourself. That promo code SPLASH for 15% off, so please do check that out. And last but not least, if you want to get into the live chat here or into the Discord, $5 to join on here. If you want to get my data updated throughout the night, for a lot of you guys, I'd recommend the Squirt Squad tier. You could see my matchup screen updated throughout the evening with all the stuff minus Stokastic ownership and projections. But you get my projections updated for everything, Vegas totals as well, updated as the night goes on. But also, if you want to join the VIP tier, if you know what you're doing with CSVs and how to use projections, join down below for that too. But check it out. Support the show. All right. I'm glad to see we're on the same page here. Yeah, it's jarring to me how bad Murray has been with Jokic off the court, but you know, it becomes a different situation. So I guess he's not able to create his own shot as much as like I might think in my head, and it seems like what it looks like. Day'Ron Sharpe, top value overall. So 24 minutes projected for him by Stokastic, and that's a really fair projection because he hasn't played above 24 this year. I think this actual calendar year, even going back to last season, I don't believe he's played more than 24 minutes, but he could theoretically play 28-30. If he does play 28-30, he might put up 40, 50 fantasy points. The big thing for Sharpe is he would look like a great play if he were playing the Thunder today. Instead, he's playing Washington. So he's playing the softest matchup possible. For Day'Ron Sharpe, I think no matter what, he should be in the vast majority of your lineups. Fields at 86%. I'm getting 93. The Nets, we could really fast go through the Nets too. It's a lot of NBA wow today, guys, but this is unfortunately what the process is. Let's take off Cam. Take off MPJ. Take off Claxton. Day'Ron Sharpe has played 510 possessions, so about half where you want to be to feel full confidence in his sample size being predictable moving forward. But 1.25 fantasy sports minute. You could also see here, nobody else on the team with Cam Thomas, Michael Porter Jr., Nick Claxton off the court has averaged over 1 fantasy point per minute. So Day'Ron Sharpe's always been a great producer, but if he does put up a 22% usage rate, 20% rebound rate, his assist rate would also be the highest on the team at about 20% plus. He's going to smash. So if there were other matchups, I think you would go, well, there's a lot of ownership for Sharpe. Can I get different here? But he's always been a great producer. He's playing a team that we always want to attack, and you are missing 3 high usage players and rebound rate players for Claxton. Day'Ron Sharpe, no player's ever a lock. I'm probably going to have like 90% Day'Ron Sharpe because of the way that the Sims work, but like he's a lock. He's an actual lock play. If you're minimum salary, that'd be the only way you could be more of a lock play. Doesn't mean though that I think making the rule max one of Day'Ron Sharpe, Day'Ron Holmes would not be crazy. It's crazy that they're both Day'Ron, the two value centers. Or, other value like Zaire Williams going to be owned a good amount. Like splitting Day'Ron Sharpe away from something else might be the way to, try to get unique there. But he's really, to me, and again, I'm sure he's going to fail and get in foul trouble or some shit. He's like the most fail-proof player I think you've had in NBA DFS this entire season. So the only way to get better is if you were 3K. Dylan Cardwell, I know everybody wants to play him. This is the showdown slate pricing at 1,600. That's why he's popping in here. Not a player that actually matters on the main slate, so you could skip over it. But Dylan Cardwell produces well per minute. So all you Cardwell fans out there, which there are apparently a lot of them, we'll play him at some point on a main slate, I'm sure. Need Raynaud to be out at this point, though, probably. Day'Ron Holmes. So Stokastic has Day'Ron Holmes at 2.4% ownership. They also have his projection at 26.2. I have Day'Ron Holmes at 34.4. I have him just under Day'Ron Sharpe's projection. He's more expensive, so it does seem like Day'Ron Sharpe's the way to go there. And Day'Ron Holmes has not produced terribly well. Like he's only been about a 0.85, 0.9 fantasy point per minute guy this year. But you are vacating a Jokic role. You're vacating a Joval role. You're vacating the Aaron Gordon, Christian Brown, Cam Johnson roles. If Day'Ron Holmes is going to be out there, he kind of has to do something, which is how that goes. It's a tougher matchup going against Cleveland, but because it's Cleveland, you'll have big men out there. So Day'Ron Holmes will get all the minutes he can get as long as he doesn't get into foul trouble. And, underlying in his rates, he's not really a huge foul guy. I project him for 3.1 today. So for Day'Ron Holmes, I don't think he's as good of a play as Day'Ron Sharp. If you're going to choose one of the Dayrons, go Sharp. That's the Sharp play. But Day'Ron Holmes, I'm getting in 53% of my lineups. Fields at 2. My projection, though, 8 fantasy points higher than Stokastic. So we'll see how that goes. But basically, the way that my data works is because Denver is missing so many stats, they have to get redistributed, relative to what the Vegas total is, and then where the matchup is with Cleveland. Even with that being a low Vegas total, relatively bad matchup on Cleveland. Well, Cleveland's kind of league averages here, but whatever. Bad matchup relatively. The stats have to go somewhere. Day'Ron Holmes is going to be the guy who gets some of the stats just because they have to go somewhere. Zaire Williams, Fields at 50%. I'm getting 34. He is dead minimum salary, small forward, power forward. He's also started lately for the Nets. So your assumption is now with them being depleted in terms of the roster today, you're probably going to get him starting. If he doesn't start, he'd be a worse play, even getting 28.2 minutes. I only have him at 22 fantasy points. His rates with the key nets off, you can see over here, he's only putting up 0.82 fantasy points a minute on 16.5% usage, a little bit of rebounds, a little bit of assists, but he's not doing anything so great. So the big thing that you have going with him is that he is 3K minimum. But certainly, if Tyrese Martin hits, he's also 3K minimum, point guard, shooting guard. Number one, we need to know the starters here. Obviously, that's always going to be the case. But for this Brooklyn game tonight, it tips off at 7, so you'll know before lock. You want to know who's starting. Starters you want to weigh more. If Zaire Williams weren't starting and he projects this much ownership, you want to knock him down pretty heavily in that kind of situation. But your starters are going to hold the most weight, but really any net's going to be in play tonight because you are missing 3 key high usage guys and you're playing Washington. So you're getting kind of a double whammy there for how these guys look. But certainly the field now favoring Zaire. Tyrese Martin, though, I don't think that far off. I have him 0.7 less projection wise, and I'm sure I'll get some lineups with both. Noah Clowney. Our guy Steven here doesn't hate Clowney. I don't either. Noah Clowney definitely to get the biggest usage uptick you would think when Michael Porter Jr. is out. He does take a lot of those same shots that MPJ leaves behind. Doesn't contribute as much rebounding-wise, assist-wise, unfortunately. But I am at a 33 projection. Stokastic has him at 30 here. So they're at 37% for the Fields ownership on Clowney. I'm getting 51. Again, my projection higher for him. My projection higher for Day'Ron Holmes. Those are 2 pretty big stands here. My projection's higher for Sharp, too, but if Stokastic has him at 34, I have him at 35.3. At his salary, you're going to get Day'Ron Sharp no matter what with that salary and that projection. Jalen Pickett started last game for the Nuggets, $3,500 salary. He's an okay fantasy producer. The big thing, though, is that if he's going to get these minutes, there's so many stats to go around that they have to go somewhere. Jalen Pickett, one of those guys. And Pickett does seemingly produce a little bit better for the Nuggets with having Jokic off the court. I'm not going to pull up the Wowie again because look, we've done it already, but Pickett's produced 16% usage, 19% assist rate, 0.8 fantasy points a minute. Nothing that great, but if he plays 25 minutes, he's an okay value at 3,500. There are probably better values in the slate than Jalen Pickett. That's why the field's only getting 4%. I'm getting 3. But on a normal slate, you'd probably play Jalen Pickett endlessly, so maybe he's still a good play if you're not playing the mega chalk. Danny Wolf, another guy the field's going to want to get to a lot here. He is your second best per minute producer on the Nets when you take off Cam Thomas, Michael Porter Jr., and Nick Claxton. But, he's a good bit behind Day'Ron Sharp. He also, hit Kevin Durant in the face of the basketball the other day by missing a 3-pointer really errantly. So that's embarrassing for him. But really at 4,300, he is a good play as well. Sharp, the better producer by a good amount, but Danny Wolf and Day'Ron Sharp, I would say if I were to choose the Nets that I feel the most confident in, Zaire Williams being 3K is nice, but I feel a lot better about Sharp and Wolf producing statistically going against the Wizards. Luke Cornett, Fields at 8%. I'm getting 7. No Wemby here, so a minutes uptick for him at 4K. Definitely would not play him over Day'Ron Sharp. Playing him over Day'Ron Holmes, definitely a possibility. The field right now, Stokastic projects Cornett get played at 8%, Day'Ron Holmes at 2. I'm definitely favoring Day'Ron Holmes in my projections, but Cornett, another pay down center option you can get to if you really want to get unique. Trey Jones, thought he would be mega chalk. That's why Trey Jones is the guy in the thumbnail. If you don't recognize that face, that is in fact the face of Trey Jones, a guy who's produced pretty well with Josh Giddey and Kobe White off the court, which is the case for the Bulls again today. Trey Jones on a normal slate would be the value play or semi-value play that everybody crams into lineups. On today's slate, he's in 21% of the fields. I'm getting 22% in my top 150. He's a good producer with Giddey and Kobe White off. And real fast, we could show the Bulls here because this is a new NBA Wowie we have not shown on screen yet. But let's take off the Giddler. Take off Kobe White. You can see here a bunch of Bulls around 1 fantasy point per minute, including Trey Jones. 19% usage, about 11 assists per 100. Really big assist upside for Trey Jones. But Jalen Smith producing 1.1 fantasy points per minute. Vucevic at 1.05. Dosunmu 1.04. Zach Collins is out. Doesn't matter. Buzelis at 1.02. Herter at 1.01. The big thing is that, unlike some teams when the star player is out, like one player kind of gets the biggest uptick in usage and assists, whatever. All the Bulls just kind of get a little bit of a more rosy picture because of how much Giddey and Kobe White contribute in every category. And all these guys that are left behind the Bulls, like they're all, pro players. Like there isn't one guy who's better than the rest. So kind of get even splits out of it. So Trey Jones, a decent play today, but Dosunmu's still a decent play. Herter's still a decent play. Like the Bulls all look kind of okay, and they're going to be forgotten men in the slate. When like if it were a normal slate where, you didn't get the Nets value and some other stuff, the Bulls would be one of the best plays on the slate. They're not now as a result. Not to be confused with Trey Cool, drummer of Green Day. I did not know the name there. Trey Jones is getting hate, bro. He's solid. I don't think he's getting hate, but he's just not as much of a value play as he looked like, I think, or would look like normally. But that's how NBA DFS goes. People flock to the Day'Ron Sharpe when he opens up, and Trey Jones is now priced kind of appropriately relatively, but a 6x value for a guy who's missing 2 star players on his team. Trey Jones is the kind of, player that we normally want to get to a good amount on these slates. And De'Aaron Fox, again, amongst top values here, 7K, just a little bit too cheap for how his rates look without Wemby. You saw without Wemby, without Vassell, we're talking about 1.2, 1.3 fantasy points per minute. So De'Aaron Fox in a good spot. You lose some swappability, though, because that San Antonio game is the first one on the slate. So if you play Fox, you play Castle, that's really the biggest downside to him, is that if more stuff opens up later, you're going to be kind of locked into those guys at the very least. All right, we're going to go game by game here. Yeah, guys, if you want to see the screens I show you here for yourself, join the channel down below. This is the version you would see if you join the Squirt Squad tier down below or the VIP tier. You get this with both. But basically, updates throughout the night. Make sure to check it out for yourself by joining the channel, supporting the show. And of course, Stokastic, 15% off promo code SPLASH, link down below. And please do subscribe, hit the like button before before we go game by game, because this is the part that gets the most tedious for me. Game by game, but still, it's important work here. We could see some leverage spots. We do the work here Monday to Friday at 2 p.m. as best we can, and that is my promise to you guys. So help me out by filling the promise you didn't make by hitting the like button and subscribing down below. Let's keep the growth going in 2026, guys, because we got a lot of NBA season still left. San Antonio, 122 implied points. Let's go to the one with Stokastic's data on it. Stephon Castle, De'Aaron Fox, I've talked enough about here. Their rates take a pretty big uptick for having Wemby off the court, let alone Wemby plus Vassell, and both guys are off today. Dylan Harper, though, doesn't really gain much rate-wise. If he were to be a surprise starter, I don't think he would be. But if he were, he would be a guy you would consider more. But his rates kind of jump up a percentage point, for usage for assists, whereas Castle and Fox gain a lot more. And it's probably mostly because of the fact that Wemby is usually in the groups together, with Castle and Fox amongst the starting groups. Dylan Harper, playing off the bench, he's normally getting the same situation unless he somehow closes as he sporadically does. But Dylan Harper, I think not quite as good of a play as Castle and Fox. And I don't think he's going to start, but if he did, then it'll change. But Castle, the field's only 15.5%. So the fact that I'm getting so much of Castle and Fox, it does make me unique from the jump. But again, does kill some flexibility potentially. Keldon Johnson getting 24% fields at 19. Stokastic give him a decent minutes uptick from having Nova Devin Vassell. Keldon Johnson, certainly one of the better 3-point shooters that could fill in and get some minutes as a result. Julian Champagnie also gets a minutes uptick as well, though he will not hit 10 plus 3-pointers like he did the other day. That's not really in his bag, but it can happen because it did happen, so that's good to know. But really, the rest of the Spurs, to me, not a priority. Do think that Keldon Johnson, Castle, and Fox are kind of the only guys I really care about on the slate. But Barnes, Cornette, Champagnie, they all project pretty well because you're missing not just Wemby, but Wemby and Vassell does get a lot of shots up. Very excited to see a beautiful UConn boy as somewhat of a priority play. Yeah, I mean, for me, he is. The field, not so much for Stephon Castle, but again, I feel like whenever there's a usage vacancy for the Spurs, Castle fills in it pretty well, and then the rates back that up, and it's hit for us enough times here on stream that I have no issue going back there, and being above the field, even if half my lamps just feel like a lot, I still want to definitely be above the field. Indiana, not looking as good for me. Really nobody missing at this point. Siakam getting 13%, Fields at 9 because we have the money to afford him and he's at power forward. But really nothing else standing that much. Nembhard, Fields at 10%. He does project okay, but on the slate, just Nembhard, not a priority play. And sometimes that's what hits. It's just like a guy that's a 5x value, but not a 6, 7x value like some of the other players on the slate. Nembhard on a normal slate would be a guy I'd probably get some of, and I do get him a lot, generally as a kind of contrarian play. But On this slate, he just seems like a non-factor. Brooklyn here, one of the more fun spots. We got 110.5 implied points for Brooklyn, 114 for Washington. Brooklyn, again, no MPJ, no Cam Thomas, no Nick Claxton. So we are getting the skeleton crew here. But as a result, really any Nets you want to play that are going to get projected for decent minutes or going to be announced as a starter, going to be playable here. The guys I'd prefer, definitely the ones that have produced well, like Day'Ron Sharpe, getting 93% of my exposure there in my top 150. Fields at 86. It's not really a sneaky play by any stretch. Noah Clowney, I'm getting at 51%. My projection's also 3 fantasy points higher than Stokastic's, but the field will also own Clowney at 37. Igor Dioman does have a massive ceiling here against Washington. Unfortunately, the underlying rates just don't really support it, but he theoretically has like triple-double upside if things break the right way. Fields at 13% of him. I'm only getting 3. My projection is also lower, but I do know for Dioman, like, he's kind of guy that's going to be unowned on the slate, and if he does play well, he's going to break the slate, I think, potentially against Washington, and how much opportunity that's left behind from the guys that aren't there. Danny Wolf, I'm getting 25%. Fields at 17. Wouldn't shock me if the field owns Wolf more because I think the public really likes Danny Wolf. But he's a good producer. Definitely, theoretically, pulls a little bit from Day'Ron Sharpe. But if I were to choose 2 Nets to play, I feel like I have more confidence, even though the ownership's higher for me on Clowney right now. I think Wolf and Sharpe are the 2 where I feel at their price tags. I just don't think they kill you on the slate no matter what. Is Clowney better than Banchero? I mean, he's a lot cheaper, and the projections are going to be relatively close, but Banchero definitely projects higher. Nolan Traore, Terrence Mann, not really guys coming up for me. Terrence Mann, though, should be getting starter run, or, about as close to that as you can get. He's going to start, but I think the minutes should be like 27, 28, no matter what. He just hasn't been playing that well fantasy-wise. The underlying rates don't jump up enough, and, the time without Michael Porter Jr. and Cam Thomas and Claxton. The man has a ceiling as well. I feel like he and Dioman are the 2 picking up less ownership, and I don't think they're going to get owned as crazily as, Wolf to me. 17% is the data play. I think the field's going to get to Wolf like 25 to 33%. Drake Powell probably will start here. He's been a pretty shitty producer on the year at 0.64 fantasy points minute, and that's with shooting above league average, so don't see a lot of ceiling for Drake Powell, but he's shooting guard, small forward, 3,200, and the Nets are playing Washington. Tyrese Martin, same case for him, but sub in point guard, shooting guard, and slightly better fantasy production. And Tyrese Martin also due to shoot better at 50% true shooting. Get matchups like this one versus Washington where you can climb back towards average if you are an under league average shooter. Zaire Williams at 3K. Again, not a great fantasy producer either. Only 0.72 fantasy points minute this year. But if he starts, 3K salary, hard to fade him too. But the field's at 50%. I'm only getting 34. Washington, you have no Keyshawn George, but nothing stands out that much. Alex Sarr, theoretical leverage against Sharpe on the other side. If he gets more rebounds, gets Sharpe into foul trouble maybe. It's one way that Sarr can have a ceiling day while also pulling away from Sharpe. But I don't really think that matters that much at Sharpe's price tag. Sarr, McCollum, Champagnie, all guys that play a little bit better with having George off the court. But really on the slate, their price tags aren't special in any way. And frankly, if you game stack this right and you play just like one wizard with the Nets chalk, that'll get you unique, and that should have upside if they're competitive for 4 quarters. So the Wizards, I think, a nice game theory play. Projection-wise, nothing's really coming up, though. Denver, 112 implied points. Cleveland, 125.5 implied points. Denver, no Jokic, no Joval, which really sucks mostly for my best ball team. I drafted one NBA best ball team, and I took Joval. I'm like, oh, if Jokic gets hurt, like, this will be great. He'll do well. And got one game and smashing. But my best ball team's an NBA, really the least important part of my gambling profile, given there's only one of them. So for this spot with Denver, Day'Ron Holmes really the only one that matters to me at this point. Peyton Watson priced up a little bit, 6,100. Did seem like he's the one that soaked up the most opportunity from having all the guys out last game. But now we also have Joval out, so I think Day'Ron Holmes has to fill in a little bit. He's only produced 0.9 fantasy points minute while having 104% true shooting, which basically means he's made all of his shots. He might have made a 3-pointer at some point, I would assume as well. But I have Day'Ron Holmes today projected for 21 real life points, 7 rebounds. This is just him playing a lot of minutes and then the production kind of flowing somewhere because it has to. I don't think I'm necessarily right about Day'Ron Holmes here. You'd see my projection at 34.4, Stokastic at 26.2. It's just the way that my projections work, which makes my projections work really well during like the end of season, tanking season portion of things, because like the stats flow pretty close to how they're supposed to. My Daron Holmes projection here, though, like he hasn't played enough this year to feel good about it. The Nuggets are a totally unprecedented situation, missing, four of their highest usage players right now, four of their most important players, including a really unique one of those in Jokic. And then Murray's also been really terrible with all of them off the court too. So it's just a weird way to project things. But to me, it looks like Holmes is the only play I want to get to. Peyton Watson, though, I think if you're going to make a case, I'd make the case for him. But I think he and Murray at 6,100, 9,500, like they're priced where they should be. The public does love the exciting whites, and Kolek and Wolf for easy clicks for people. Yeah, I think that's fair. And Wolf, he's played well fantasy-wise on a few slates too, so that certainly doesn't hurt, same as it does for Kolek. For Cleveland, 125.5 implied points. Donovan Mitchell, very easy to afford in the slate. It's really the only reason I think he's coming up at 17% relative to his 45-ish fantasy point projection today at a 9K salary. Evan Mobley, not looking that good. Garland, not that good. Jared Allen, not that good. Really just Mitchell or bust, I think, on Cleveland's side. And got to make up some time here with a ton of games, so let's skip past it. Atlanta, 117.5 implied points. No Trae Young. You can afford Jalen Johnson more easily. That makes Jalen Johnson an okay play. Fields at 37%. I am dead with that. Nothing else in the Hawks popping up. When you have Jalen Johnson in, that's where your extra Trae Young usage goes. It's not like in previous years where you'd see Dyson Daniels come up a little bit more. Alexander Walker obviously will get a little bit more usage, but doesn't come up enough. These guys were already priced for Trae Young to be out, so you're not gaining much by going to the secondary Hawks today. New York, if Cat is out, it's going to look a lot better. I assume I would get Brunson a ton more. His $9,200 salary. They got a very high total today at 124 implied points. And, Jalen Brunson, no Trae Young out there to bring out the most fiery aspects of him. But Knicks and Hawks have gone head-to-head in the Garden a few times. So maybe you get a Brunson, Jalen Johnson pairing paying off well today. But Towns right now with that Q tag, if he's out, Mitchell Robinson, I think, is going to come into play a little bit at 4,800, at least a way to get a little bit less Daron Holmes for me. If Cat's in, nothing here looks that good besides Brunson being a guard you can get to and spend up your money that you're going to have so much of on the slate. Orlando, 119 implied points. Chicago, 113.5. Again, Banchero, somebody asked about before. He looks not too great at 8,600, but certainly has a tournament ceiling going against Chicago. Desmond Bane looks better to me, getting him at 21%. The field's at 10. Bane is shooting guard, small forward, so the multi-position eligibility helps out a little bit there. But it's a good matchup against Chicago, a little bit of a pace up. Not a great defense by the Bulls, giving up 118.3 points per 100 possessions. But you have so many other spots to get to on the slate. Orlando is just a team that's priced where they're supposed to be and in a pretty good matchup, and that does not mean they're going to pop up. Definitely nice tournament options, though, I think, to go to Orlando here. Chicago with their 113.5 implied. And I think on a normal slate, you'd be getting here a lot more. As it is, though, I'm getting Trey Jones, 22%. The field's at 21. Getting Jalen Smith, who started for the Bulls last time out. We'll see if he gets it again, but got him at 5%. The field's at 14. He's priced up at 5K as well. Kevin Huerter, 3%. The field's at 8. Trey Jones just didn't take a price tag jump up, and he really does become like the most true version of a point guard, averaging over 10 assists, per 100 possessions with Josh Giddey and Kobe White off the court. I think you can make a case for Trey Jones still. The other guys look decent, but again, not a smash spot like it was a couple slates ago. Charlotte going against Milwaukee, 113 implied points. Milwaukee gets 118.5. Charlotte looks unplayable to me on the slate. They do have Kalkbrenner out. They do have still Mason Plumlee out. Sadie Abate, if you want to go there again, you can. Getting 7% right now. The field's at 5. Getting Brandon Miller at 7%. LaMelo at 8. But these guys appropriately priced on a slate where you have a ton of values. Maybe nice tournament pivots for Charlotte, but the projections aren't really there, and you have a lot of spots where you actually want to jam in value. Charlotte's not one of them. Milwaukee on their side, Giannis has been minutes limited lately, and the other Bucks are producing a little bit more than they probably should, or at least you would think historically with what Giannis has done. As a result, Giannis, I'm at 9%. The field's 11. Going to be very easy to afford him on the slate, but you kind of need guards more. The value is there for power forward, for center. So I get why you don't get Giannis, but he is one way to spend your money that seems like the field won't be doing that a lot of. Ryan Rollins still looks decent to me. He's starting again. Kevin Porter Jr. playing more minutes, not producing as well with Giannis in. He's still definitely a tournament option, even though the projections don't look fantastic. This game, kind of a no man's land game, but if you take one piece from it, two pieces from it, you get it right. It's probably your way to get unique with all the chalk around it. Portland, 123 implied points. Nollins, 120.5 implied points. We got no Jeremy Grant, no Scoot still, no Drew Holiday still. So for Portland here, Denny Avdia, 46% ownership for the field. I'm getting 58. Avdia has been this chalky before and failed, but he is facing Portland here with a lot of key guys missing, or facing New Orleans here with the key guys missing. I think it's a spot where you want to get on Avdia with the field. But certainly there are guys you could pay for in his range instead, and that'll make you more unique. Shaden Sharp, not really getting there, but he has similarly good opportunity facing New Orleans and with no Jeremy Grant, no Drew Holiday. Donovan Clingan, uptick in production as well here. Not having Derek Queen probably helps him out a little bit too. Tamani Kamara, fields at 9%. I'm getting 4. Caleb Love will get as many shots as he wants to off the bench. Definitely due to shoot better as well at only 48% true shooting to start his campaign here. I mean, Avdia is the one that's chalk, but they're all viable plays. They just don't really project as uniquely as Avdia does as your top pay-up option, it seems, on the slate. New Orleans, Zion looked good as mega chalk last slate. Didn't go nuts, though. Today with no Derek Queen, no Sadiq Bey. He's going to have the best shot at hitting his ceiling at this point. Fields at 39%. I got 33. Very easy to afford him. My projection is 2 fantasy points lower than Stokastic, though, with me only at 40.3. Stokastic at 42.3. Trey Murphy got downgraded to a Q tag. If he were out, Poole and Fears would look better. Alvarado, Zion also would look better. But really at this point, if Murphy is in, he's an okay play. Fields at 20% or so. I'm at 15. Poole and Fears about 10% plays. I'm under the field on that. Zion's really the key one here. If you get Trey Murphy out, he'll be even more chalky. But the Zion and Denny Avdia duo, I presume, will get played a good amount with the value that people have on the slate. Sacramento and Phoenix is only on the FanDuel slate. Nothing looks that good to me. I'm just going to skim through it. OKC, Golden State, FanDuel slate. Jimmy Butler got downgraded to a Q tag. If he's out, this will look a little bit better for that game, but yeah, whatever. Just pulling it up on screen so people can see it. Memphis and Lakers. Luka looks like our top projected guy overall on your FanDuel / any other slate you're going to play. John Morant, playable at 7,400. Thought eye test, he looked like the most motivated he's been this year in Memphis's last game. But, you know, that's it. LeBron's still dog shit. Not rebounding. Playing about 1.14 fantasy points a minute. Hate to see it. But he's still, you know, relative to a 40-year-old guy, 41-year-old guy, whatever he is. He's still doing it. Let's go to Stokastic next. Let's run a sim without my interference, guys. That's a lot with the game by game, but you guys know the deal here. We do the work as best we can Monday to Friday at 2 p.m. So please show some love. Hit that like button and subscribe. It means a lot to me. Just one creator showing you my gambling across the NBA, and I do prepare for it, I think, as diligently as anybody in the space. As I mentioned lately, you know, it's been cool getting more views than actual DFS companies that I respect. You know, Ship It and Run Pure, like I get more views there. But I'm hungry to keep pushing up as high as we can. If I'm going to be the last NBA DFS show that exists, and I want to get the views for it. So help me out, hit the like button, subscribe here, and we'll keep doing the work every day through the NBA Finals on this channel. Of course, Stokastic, 15% off all the stuff I've showed you here on screen. Get it updated for yourself at Stokastic with that promo code SPLASH. Link down below if you want to check out their options and use the promo code. And last but not least, join the channel here. You want to be part of the live chat, or if you want to be on the Discord, it is $5 to join. You also get on those tiers, you get the Squirt Squad tier. You get my projections updated throughout the night and very easy matchup view. You could also get my exportable projections if you're an advanced player and know how to use that stuff. But check it out, support the show if you can, and shout out to all you guys that have lately. I appreciate it a bunch. All right. Top ROI lines from Stokastic without my projections is just their data. De'Aaron Fox, Trey Jones, Zaire Williams, that 3K minimum salary makes it in. Giannis makes it in. Day'Ron Sharp, Shaden Sharp, double Sharp, Zion Williamson, and Moussa Diabate. So they're not playing all the sexy chalk, but you're definitely playing, you know, a lot of guys here that we expect to have better days in the future. Giannis, Shaden Sharp getting leverage on Avdia. Diabate has been good, but he's kind of a forgotten man on the slate. Number 2, we got De'Aaron Fox, Donovan Mitchell, Zaire Williams, Pascal Siakam, Day'Ron Sharp, Trey Jones, Zion Williamson, and Alex Sarr. You mean, again, Donovan Mitchell, just one of those guys you can afford who has a ceiling. But, you know, he's 20% owned. I don't feel like these are not the slates where I'm not crazy about Mitchell. But he's fine. Number 3, De'Aaron Fox, Trey Murphy, Zaire Williams again, Paolo Banchero, Day'Ron Sharp again, Jeremiah Fears, Giannis makes it again, and Jordan Poole. So the big thing is that Zaire and Sharp making every lineup so far, and Giannis making more than I would have thought. Number 4, De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle, Zaire Williams, Giannis again, Daron Sharp again, Shaden Sharp again, Jalen Smith, and Moussa Diabate. So again, some of the less sexy values in here, but guys that still we know can produce well and can be ceiling kind of plays. And number 5, De'Aaron Fox, he makes all the top 5. De'Aaron Fox, Trey Jones, Zaire Williams, Jalen Johnson, Daron Sharp, Jamal Murray, Jalen Smith, Alex Sarr. I like those lineups, really. Sometimes I'll critique the Stokastic talk lineups because there's a player that I'm just not crazy about that makes it in a lot. But I think that looks good. So soon it'll be a large conglomerate called Spagtastic. I mean, more likely what you'll get from me is an NFL and NBA data site if I could figure out how to make the AI work and do what I want it to do. That's one of my projects that I have conceptually in my brain for 2026. Because I've talked to Josh about it. Like, I love the site that he built for his NBA stuff. So I'd like to do one that does something similar for me. Obviously not the same, but also for NFL. And just, I would like to make that, a splash play site that, but we'll see. We'll see. That's obviously a lot of work. And I've had frankly, not a lot of success with Claude. So like with updating data in real time in particular. So I got to figure that out. But it's my plan to play with that once the NFL season ends, I think in particular. Giannis, top ROI player according to Stokastic, 10.9 salary. Again, you can afford him, and if he does get a few more minutes or just produces well per minute, he could break the slate, and makes sense if he's not going to be owned to play Giannis. Number 2, Alex Sarr. Number 3, Trey Jones. Number 4, Shaden Sharp. And number 5, Jordan Poole. So you got a lot of fun options here, guys, that I think, again, a little bit underappreciated. Trey Jones was on my thumbnail before all that Brooklyn value opened up. If I had redone the thumbnail, probably would have been Daron Sharp. And I think that's sort of how the field's going to view Trey Jones. Like, he would have been a player, again, that people would have loved if the slate didn't have endless value. Now that it does, you forget about those guys. Or Sarr, who also looks okay, and Sharp, who looks okay. Poole, never the most fun, but, there's more opportunity for the guys missing for New Orleans for sure. Overall highest exposures. People saying Claude is a touch fraudulent. Okay. I mean, I know Josh says the data's all good, but yeah, Josh has gone full mad scientist, great stuff. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't think I would want to build everything that he's building, but I want to build the version of it for me and also like have my data kind of be displayed better in a way that could sell more easily. So that's sort of my thought process, but we'll see. We'll see. Because I have to basically recreate stuff with accessible free things as opposed to using paid things. So it's a little bit of push-pull. Anyway, we got Daron Sharp. In terms of Stokastic's top 150 lineups, he's the highest exposed guy. He's in 97% of these top 150. Like I mentioned, it's really hard to say anybody's a lock play, just knowing NBA DFS, what we know. But relative to just, a guy's a lock play, Daron Sharp is the most lock kind of play we've had in a DFS slate this year. Zaire Williams, they're giving you 77%. The field's at 52, so a pretty big stand on Zaire, about 25% more in the field. He has minimum salary. He will likely start. Still not a great contributor, though, at like 0.8 or so fantasy points a minute. So, not the most exciting, I would say, especially relative to like a Daron Sharp. De'Aaron Fox, Stokastic has him at 67% of their top 150. The field's at 43%. Fox is just too cheap, especially for a matchup against Indiana with no Wemby. That's it. I mean, I do want to play Castle similarly to Fox, but here you're getting him a lot more for Stokastic. He's in 2/3 of the lineups. Zion Williamson, Stokastic has in half the lineups, and the field's at 39%. So a big stand there. Would think that would get even bigger if Trey Murphy gets ruled out. And Jalen Johnson, Stokastic has at 40%. The field's at 36. I think my data would greatly want to play Jalen Johnson over Giannis. But, I think Stokastic giving you good amounts of both here. You got Giannis at 38% with his ownership at 10. Jalen Johnson at 40%. You are playing a lot of the pay-up power forwards. Slightly disagree with today's Stokastic, but it looks about right. It's what I was doing. I mean, the thing to remember with Stokastic, even if you disagree with a few of the things, like they're playing pretty close to the median, market expectation. They include prop betting markets as well as part of their data process. So that's why it's going to look different than a model where you don't account for that stuff. Like my stuff accounts for median outcomes through Vegas totals. But, like if you're using prop markets, it just all keeps it pretty snug towards the middle expectation, which is, what a projection is supposed to be. It should be higher 50% of the time, lower 50% of the time. Your highest leverage plays, Giannis, 28% more in the field. Big stand there, which makes sense. Very easy to afford that. Number 2, Zaire Williams, 24% leverage here. You are getting him a big time above the field. He's 3K minimum. I get it in that respect, but I do think that's a lot of lineups today with Stokastic users that will just play Zion or Zaire and Daron Sharp, and that's it right away. And certainly if you were to play just one of them, I think that would make you more unique for it. And I don't know if you're missing out on the world for Zaire Williams. De'Aaron Fox, 24% leverage here. You're getting him again, 67% of lineups, fields at 43. Trey Jones, 16% positive leverage on him. He's getting played in about 40% of lineups in the fields at 22 and change. Day'Ron Sharpe, 12.5% leverage. Again, he's in almost every lineup, but still only 97, fields at 85. And Jeremiah Fears, you're getting 10% more in the field. Zion, pretty close to that. Poole, pretty close to that as well. Your most negative leverage plays. Oh, wow. Massive fade on Noah Clowney. My data does not agree with that. Negative 27% leverage for Noah Clowney. He's all usage. I know a lot of people out there hated Norm Powell a couple slates ago when I thought he was a really great play because they're like, he only scores points. And it's like, that's the same for Noah Clowney too. But if he's going to score points, he's going to do it against Washington most likely. So 37% ownership for Clowney. Stokastic only giving you 11. Real big fade on Clowney. Denny Avdia, negative 22% leverage. Pretty big fade on him as well. He's going to be in half the fields lineups. They only want him in about 27% of yours. Jamal Murray, negative 11% leverage. They have you at 8%, fields at 19. Desmond Bane, barely playing him at all. Only one lineup in the top 150. That's a negative 10% leverage on Desmond Bane. And Stephon Castle, this is where I will vehemently disagree with Stokastic. I think you want to get similar amounts of him as to De'Aaron Fox. I think they have a similar range of outcomes. And to me, slightly better projection for Stephon Castle here. I think that's the longer-term sample size projection for Fox over Stephon Castle's. Castle has just been a man possessed this year. And you take any high-usage guy off the seam. And, yeah, I mean, I'll be above that number. But they are negative 9% leverage on Castle. All right, let's go and do a single lineup sim here. I know you'd rather play Luke Kennard over Zaire. I don't think Luke Kennard's really a play on the slate, though. At least with Stokastic's minutes. But follow your heart. Follow your heart. All right. We got our main slate here. Got the same settings here. Large contest, 25% to first. All right, who'd be my first guy in? Avdia or Fox, I think would be my point guard. Let's go Fox. We know the sim likes them as well. Or likes him as well. Shooting guard for me would probably be Castle. Trey Jones, I don't mind. Sim doesn't mind Trey Jones either. But I am going to try to go Castle here. Let's see if we can get my kind of players in this lineup and not get a negative ROI on it. Small forward for me would be Desmond Bane, Keldon Johnson. Do we do another Spur? That doesn't feel right. I mean, the sim would let me to get Zaire. Let's give the sim what it wants. We'll put in Zaire. 3K minimum salary. Power forward for me would be Noah Clowney, Jalen Johnson. Let's go Clowney here. Center, Day'Ron Sharpe. We don't even need to think about that. Do I want to just put in Holmes as the other center? I think Holmes would be my other center. But Stokastic is not going to like him as much. But I am going to put the other Day'Ron. It's a double Day'Ron kind of day for me. Day'Ron Holmes come in at utility. Now we got shooting guard, or we got guard and forward here with 9,700 left per spot. The guard's got to be Avdia. Forward. Oh, we can't afford Jalen Johnson. $100 short. Oh, that's brutal. All right, what if I come off Holmes? Trey Johnson, Okoro, Danny Wolf. I can live with Danny Wolf. All right. Let's see what they're going to give us here. We got Fox, Castle, Zaire Williams, Noah Clowney, Day'Ron Sharpe, Denny Avdia, Jalen Johnson, Danny Wolf. Only an 8% ROI. Still positive, so I could leave on that and not feel awful about it. Let's see. If we take out Clowney, what would it do to complete this lineup? Puts in Danny Wolf and Trey Jones instead. I like that too. This lineup, Fox, Castle, Zaire, Danny Wolf, Day'Ron Sharpe, Denny Avdia, Jalen Johnson, Trey Jones, 62% ROI, 0.2% win rate, top 10, 2% of the time. I can live with that. That's it, guys. I'm going to give you guys my splash plays for the day, even though, again, that lineup build should make it pretty obvious. Before I do that, though, one last ask. Please do hit that like button. Please subscribe. Involve the value you got of the videos. You're going to fade me. That would be hurtful, but that's your choice here. But I am still going to show up and do the work Monday to Friday at 2 p.m. I do think no matter what you watch this video, you're probably going to get some value out of it while you think about the NBA DFS slate. So please show some love. Help me keep fighting that YouTube algorithm by hitting that like button and subscribing. And shout out to the 350 of you watching live between YouTube and Twitter. That is a lot of people. So I do appreciate that. But the work continues on, guys, so please do click that like, subscribe, and on Twitter, hit the like too. Stokastic, 15% off promo code SPLASH will get you all that 15% off goodness. Click the link down below on Twitter as well in the bio. But use that promo code SPLASH over there. All the cheap packages, all the expensive packages, it is 15% off monthly, weekly, even yearly, 15% off. So join down below. Use that promo code SPLASH when you get over there. And last but not least, support the show. If you want to be part of the live chat, join on YouTube and use that promo code. No, there's no promo code. Click the join button. No promo code needed even. $5 you get to join here. You can also get access to the Discord if you do that. Or you can ask me questions. We talk about some game theory. We talk about DFS a lot on the channels there. If you want my projections and the stuff updated throughout the screen, throughout the night here, the stuff you've seen on screen, join one of the Squirt Squad tiers down below and you can get that as well. All right, splash plays for the day. The two Spurs, Fox and Castle. Fox is really chalky. Castle is not, but they're going to be in both about half my lineups if I had to guess each. Besides them, value play Day'Ron Sharpe. And I'm not telling anything you're not going to know from watching any content today, but Day'Ron Sharpe is your very, very obvious value. If I could put him in all of my lineups or no lineups, I'd put him in all my lineups and I wouldn't think twice about it. I do think that if you can afford them and you can, Avdia and Jalen Johnson be my preferred pay-up options. Get nothing too brave there. Noah Clowney will definitely be a splash play for me today. I'm less bullish on Zaire Williams. That's like an inverse splash play. Our dry play, our need of lubrication play. I think that's enough to get you guys going. Really, the Spurs guards, Denny Avdia, Jalen Johnson, Day'Ron Sharpe, Day'Ron Holmes, I am also definitely above on. He's a splash play. Both Dayrons. That's the deal for today. Hey, fun starts 2026 here, guys. The work continues on here. Join along for the journey here Monday to Fridays at 2 p.m. I will be on Stokastics live before lock tonight and tomorrow. So if you want to play NBA with me today or tomorrow, we'll be updating projections with that and also we'll be on content. So check that out. Stokastic, also NFL Sunday. If you want my NFL takes for week 18, check out the @Splash Play Pod channel. You can see that stuff on there. But I appreciate you guys being here again. I hope you guys have a happy and healthy new year. Hope it is very successful relative to whatever that means. It could mean just winning the play action on NFL. It could mean winning the 4-point play. It could mean winning millions of dollars at this. I mean, if you could do the latter, then give me some. But also, you know, just whatever your success means. It doesn't have to mean winning everything. It just mean getting better at what the thing you enjoy doing. And that's what the process is here every day for us. And same as me, same as you guys out there. So let's keep doing the work, guys. But I'll see you guys again soon. Hopefully on Stokastic later today. But if not, enjoy your days. Good luck. Happy New Year. See you soon. And bye-bye, guys. Catch you later.